Hello, all beautiful people. Hope you are doing good. So, today's topic is all about how you may integrate the RDLC reporting in .NET Core. Well, let me tell you that this was never possible before. This was never possible. And the support for RDLC reporting in .NET Core has not been given natively by Microsoft. So once again, so RDLC, I know that sounds quite counterintuitive. So .NET Core, which is by Microsoft, and RDLC, which is also by Microsoft, they are not in sync. I mean, there is no RDLC support in .NET Core. However, as you might know, the .NET Core is open source. So the open source community, the community has heavy lifted the old RDLC and has made it to support in .NET Core, right? So basically, what they did is that they decompiled the RDLC support from the old .NET framework and they recompiled for .NET Core, and it is supported from .NET Core 8 and above. So with all that basic introduction, let me start straight with how can you create a very simple report using RDLC in .NET Core 9.0 as of this recording. Currently, as of this recording, .NET 9 is out. So I believe any future versions will also be supported. I mean, will be fine with it because the RDLC is supported in .NET 8 and above. So what are the softwares that you might need to install? There are two things that you definitely would need to install. Number one thing is you definitely has to be installing the Microsoft's RDLC report designer. Okay, so number one, this has to be installed, and once you install this, this integrates with Visual Studio, and this is one-time installation. And for every new project, you have to be adding a reference to this ReportViewerCore.NETCore. This is what is community made and not by Microsoft. Okay, so this is not by Microsoft. Once again, let me tell you, this is by community, and you have to be adding this for every of your ASP.NET Core MVC application. Okay, all the time. And yep, and this is, you can really find this in Nugget references. So the question is that I'm just going to give you some introduction of reporting and how is this all working. What is exactly Microsoft's RDLC report designer? Now, this Microsoft's RDLC report designer doesn't really work with .NET Core. You have heard it right. So there are some kind of questions, ifs and buts. So kindly listen it. I mean, listen my whole tutorial, and you will really understand that what you need to do and what you might feel a little awkward, but that is how it works. So the main takeaway is that if you are really, really, really wanting to use RDLC, you don't want to use anything new like something like Simulsoft, which is natively in .NET Core. The other stuff also, okay, so they have been made in .NET Core. But if you really love the RDLC, then this video is for you. So this designer is not supported in .NET Core. Now you still need to be using this. So what does that mean? Let me first write down some steps and you'll understand. You have to be downloading this and installing this. How can you download and install this? So let us open the Visual Studio. I'll open a Visual Studio. Let me start creating a new project. I have already created the project for you, but I want to do it from scratches. So I'd like to create a new Visual Studio project. Let me go for this ASP.NET Core Model View Controller and click Next. Let me call it RDLC Core Reporting. All right, and click Next. I'm using .NET 9 with the top level statements on, and click Create. All right, so the project got created. The very first thing that you have to do is if your computer is freshly installed, if you have freshly installed Visual Studio, then you probably don't have this RDLC support. You have to have this RDLC support, okay? Because this is how you can visually create your reports. This is just a report designer, okay? So that means you can visually create reports, and whenever you create report, the extension of those files are always RDLC. Probably already know that before you have come to this lecture. And all RDLC files are XML files. So that means if you can still write your XML in your own hand, then you never need to install this. Okay. So that means if you can write the whole XML, the RDLC XML in your own hand, you don't ever have to be having this RDLC designer. But we rarely do that by our own hand. It's difficult, right? Because RDLC can speed up things. But the problem is that you cannot even add the RDLC file in a .NET Core project. This is complete bummer. Okay, like you can't do that. You can't have RDLC in .NET Core applications. So what is the workaround? The only workaround is to create a dummy .NET Framework application. It can be anything, maybe a console application. It don't have to be a web application. Create your initial designs first, the RDLC, and then just copy it into your new .NET Core application. I mean, this sounds funny, but that is how it works. I'm telling you, right? This sounds funny, but this is how it works. But this will definitely work. Now, don't think those who are thinking that, okay, then might be that if I don't have .NET Framework, and so under the hood, all our DLCs work under the .NET Framework. I also thought the same way. This is not so. Only the designing, just to you, for you to create the design, yes, in your computer, you should definitely have the .NET Framework in your Visual Studio, right? That is all you need to have. But the client computer don't have to have .NET Framework at all, because it is enough to have this report viewer core.NETCore. This is enough to have the client computer, wherever you are selling your software, your client don't need to have .NET Framework at all. It is all good, just good to have your .NET Core, and that's it. Your server don't have to be having both of .NET Framework and .NET Core. Just while you are developing the reports, yes, you need to create a dummy application first, add your RDLC file, and then you have to be copying and pasting your RDLC into the second project. All of these things will be absolutely clear. Let's move on. So step number one, you have to be integrating Visual Studio with RDLC. How to do that? It's pretty simple. I will copy this Microsoft RDLC report designer. I have already copied that. And in my Visual Studio, I already have it integrated. For that, you have to go to extensions, go to manage extensions, and then go to browse, and you just search for Microsoft's RDLC report designer. Now since I already have installed it, so you see this already has it installed, right? Maybe it is telling update to 17.0.5, but I already have installed it. I don't want to do any more installation or updations. Now what you will really get, like let's say if it is not there, let's say I uninstall this for you, okay, for good reason, let me uninstall this just for you. I'm doing this uninstallation, so it will uninstall, and then I'm going to be reinstalling this again for you internet community, okay, so that you understand how it works. I think it has uninstalled. Let's see. I think it has uninstalled. Let me copy and paste and check. Yeah, okay. It is still under the process. It changes your schedule, modification will begin, and Visual Studio is closed. Oh, that's fine. Let me close it and let's see if Visual Studio, okay. So VISX has already started uninstalling. VSIX. Okay, I have uninstalled. It'll take some time. So I'll do all the steps one by one, and that will be good to see. Let me close everything for me to I'll come to this project. So this is a project that I have already built for you, and I'll be copying and pasting codes to save time. All right, so let me close this because Visual Studio is undergoing change and installing RDLC Report Designer. Taking some time. Let me pause the video and come back when the installation is over. So almost uninstalled. Taking some time. Great. Your modification have been successfully applied. Please close and restart all target application instances to take the effect. I mean, this is what you don't have to do because you don't have it already, right? So I'm just doing it for you guys, right? So that I can give you a fresh start of how to do from everything from scratches. So now, currently, your Visual Studio don't have the feature. I mean, right now my Visual Studio has lost that feature. So I'm starting my Visual Studio. And I can click any of the project, any one of the project. So let me click on this one, RDLC core reporting. Let me go to extensions, manage extensions, go to browse, paste this. Now it will tell you that would you like to install this report designer 2022, I think, which is kind of very recent. I say yes, please go for that. As I click this install, what actually happens is this is going to save a file onto my downloads folder. That is the VSIX file, VSIX file. It has downloaded, right? I already had it, so therefore you can see a 1. I can open this up and this shows here, okay? And this is how the icon shows, okay? You can see this is how the icon shows up. So Microsoft.RDLC Report Designer, right? Now all you need to do at this point is to close the Visual Studio, because it is going to modify the Visual Studio's feature. So what you have so far done, pointed out to that RDLC in the extensions, and that downloaded a VSIX file, VSIX file. You might not see these extensions. Like, all I'll tell you is that always try to show your extension. So for that, if you don't know how to show your extension, you can go to options, view and options in your computer, okay, options. And I always do this, I always check this off. Usually for all of your computers, by default, you'll have this one checked, hide extensions for known file types. I always check this off so that I, as a developer, can see my files extensions. So this is VSIX and this is PDF, right? I can just see the file, I can understand what extension it is. So now I will double click on it, and this has started installing. The VSIX installer has started installing the report designer feature with my Visual Studio. It will automatically detect the Visual Studios. Let's say if I have 2 Visual Studio installed, which is absolutely meaningless, you can just have one Visual Studio, which is Visual Studio 2022 or advanced, whatever, right? So it will automatically detect the Visual Studio, and it will try to update your Visual Studio. See, it's already saying that Visual Studio Community 2022 is getting updated now with this new feature. By the way, those who don't know, I am Shudipto. I'm an online trainer. I have been successfully giving training since last 22 years and even more. Okay, I'm an early adopter of .NET. I started .NET when the .NET's first version was released back in 2000. Okay, so you can see how long .NET has come, and many people don't know this is the silver jubilee of .NET. So .NET has already counted 25 years as of this 2025. So for anyone who wants to have one-to-one classes with me, you are most welcome to give me a tinkle. The details of my number, my WhatsApp number, will be included in the description section below. And my website's name is supernovaservices.com. There we go. It's almost installing. And finally, if you have found this video good, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. Okay, so now the Visual Studio has been installed. It's saying that RDLC report has been successfully installed. Please close and restart all target application instances. Great, I'll close it and I will now restart the Visual Studio. I'll click open my project, which is currently empty. It has got nothing in it. Now, this project is a .NET Core MVC application, right? Now, I will not be able to get my reporting reporting feature over here. That is, I will not be able to create RDLC file and edit it here. Okay, creating RDLC file you can definitely do because it's ultimately an XML file. But to edit it using a designer, you can't just help because Microsoft is never giving support for this with this core. So let me see. Let's try to right click on this. Let's see. Just I install the new feature. I mean new for 2022. Who knows that it will support us. So let me right click and add a new item. Let me try to type in here report. REPORT. I'm not surprised. I don't see any reporting tool over here. However, if you have a .NET Framework application, you'll immediately see report and report wizard coming here. So that is why I did tell you that with this project, which is a .NET Core project, keep it as is. Now right click on this solution, add another project to it. Now I can add any project, but it has to be a .NET Framework application. So I can type console and you will have to be pointing to console.NET Framework. Just make sure it has to be any .NET Framework application of anything. I mean, of course, just choose C# as a language for some reason. So, of course, you can choose VB as well as you wish. So, .NET Framework, but make sure that it is .NET Framework and click next. I call it dummy because ultimately it will be of no use. I can keep framework 4.8, 4.7. It's absolutely fine. You can keep any framework. I'm keeping 4.8.1, which was the last version of .NET Framework, right? All right. And .NET Framework, for those who don't know, it's an older framework of .NET. It is just a Microsoft-only framework of .NET. .NET Core is a very modern .NET. It supports all the platforms, Linux, Windows, Mac, and everything. All right. So now let me click create this dummy project. I can call it dummy. Okay. And click create. Now, once I create this dummy project, now let me try my luck. Let me right click on this and click add new item. And let me try to write here search for a report. You see this? Now it's available. This is the reason why I really wanted to have this. Now I already have my project created. Now I'm just going to be taking help of that. I already have it opened. So let me click on this RDLC reporting, which I already had. Not this one, RDLC reporting. Yeah, that's one. So let me now try to copy and paste the things that I already have. Now, before you start even designing the report really wants to have a data structure. Okay, you will require a data structure. So for that, I will be creating the data structure. Okay, for that I really require the models. So for that, let me get into the models. Okay, yeah, let me create this model, which is employee model. All right, and let me first close. I'll come back to this, don't worry. I'm currently creating the models. Now this is funny, but the first thing is that you have to be creating the model quite in your current console project. I mean the .NET Framework project, just for one simple reason. And after that, you can even delete this project, but just keep it in case if you have to be creating another report. So I'll be creating this model, which is this guy, okay, and the repository too. The repository is not needed, just the model is sufficient. because the model will provide the structure of data. This model is providing the structure of the data. Okay, so just I have this model and that's it. I'll first build this solution so that this dummy project compiles well. Okay, so what we have done so far, we have first integrated RDLC in our Visual Studio. Step number 1, that is done. We have reopened the Visual Studio. We have this .NET Core application. Here is where I'm going to be having my reports working under a controller. We are just soon to be going there. But RDLC itself is not supported here. So we are bound to first create a dummy project and then have a structure of the model, which will also be creating here. Okay, we are creating here just because so that my RDLC can read this model and can create the structure of the report. Okay, the visual structure of the report. For that reason only, I have copied the model necessary for the RDLC. Please understand that you don't have to be copying and pasting all the models from your .NET Core application into here. Only that model which is necessary for showing the report is really needed. Right? It's really needed. You can have other way arounds too, like XSD files and all, but I prefer this approach because it is very simple. So what we have done, created a dummy .NET Framework application. I'm next having my model, which is here. I can plug it into anywhere, but that doesn't even make any sense. I've just had it here now. And then I like to create my RDLC file. So click add and then new item. I like to add an RDLC file. I like to have my RDLC file named after my project. So I like to have it just the same. Okay. All right. I'll first type reporting here. That gets me here. And then I'll have my report named as employee report.rdlc and click add. And great, you see this report designer has really come up. You'll never find it in the .NET Core. So the best approach is that create a dummy .NET Framework project, have it here, and now add the data set. Now the data set is what the structure of this RDLC. Let me tell you, there is data set doesn't mean that this RDLC is trusty of data. No, it's a major misconception that you should already have the repositories, the databases, and everything beforehand. You don't have to be having the repositories and data structures beforehand. All you need to have is the file, which is the the main class, which can provide a structure of the data. I hope that you understand this point, that the classes provide the structure, right? They are the structures. Classes with properties really provide the metadata and the structure to our application. So right now I'm just going to add the data set, and I'm just going to click object, okay, and click next. I'm going to check on that, click on that, and choose on my employee. So this is what is already there, and click finish, and then name this as dataset employee. Right? You need to be naming the data set, and use the same name later. Remember this name. You have to be just name this exactly like that. All right. So what it really essentially did is that it copied all of our structure into this report. I click OK, and it has named after dataset employee. And now it is very easy for us to design the report. For that, we need to click on the toolbox. We just need to drag and drop. I'm just going to have a very simple one like a table, and then would like to have my employee ID, the employee's name, the employee's department, and finally the employee's salary. Right? Oops, employee's salary. Okay, and then bring this thing little down. And in the toolbox, let me grab a text box there and type it as employee report. Okay, it's up to you. I'm just making it very simple so that you understand the way out. I can just make it bold and make it center along, right? It's fair enough, all good. So just remember what we have done so far. I'll keep on repeating. First of all, we added the RDLC support to our project. Okay, that's the first thing. While shutting down the Visual Studio, you need to be updating your Visual Studio, and then you need to be opening the Visual Studio. Create two projects, one a dummy .NET Framework project and another your main .NET Core project, which I presume that you already have. Okay, and then in your dummy project, all you have to do is that you have to be creating just a very simple the simple structure of the data, which is nothing but the class. You can basically copy this class from your main application project to here, or you may create it here itself first. It's up to you. So you know your data, so the data that will be required to your report. So kindly create this structure first here, and then what you need to do is that you have to be updating, you have to be adding data sets. Now you can add more data sets. This is absolutely possible that I can have employee data set, and then let's say data set employee, data set project, data set attendances, right? You can have more data sets. So it's absolutely possible for the report to have multiple data sets. What does this data set do? This data set will provide list data to this particular tabular control. All right. Apart from data set, you can also have parameters. This is quite possible. You also can have parameters, add parameters the way you did. All the same thing, right? And then your design is ready. Great. Then follow me that the design, this RDLC is now ready. All you need to do, man, is to copy and paste it within this particular project. How do I do that? It's very simple. I'll right click, click add, click a new folder. I'll call it reports, and I'll just copy this RDLC and paste it within my reports. Now let me close this from here. Okay, now if I open up this, it really shows we don't have any problem. You might be asking question that, hey, that we have this particular model created in this particular project, the framework, it is not there here, but it is still sensing. And this is the beauty of RDLC. RDLC, once it understands the structure, it remembers. Is having a visual memory. It then don't need to be trained again that how the structure will be. So it actually takes a snapshot of the data model. It remembers the structure inside. So after that, you never need to tell it again. It is fine. You can just copy and paste your RDLCs around, because inside the RDLC, we already have that structure. Right? RDLC is nothing but an XML. If you really want to see how it looks in an XML, you can right click, open with an usual XML editor, XML text editor, click OK, and you'll find all the XMLs here. Right? Now think about it. If you never have the designer, you have to type it all by yourself. Right? This is freaking crazy to type all of them by yourself, right? See? So it has everything, like all the structures of data, how it will look like. So all the things are just embedded here. It has taken a snapshot of it. Now, what to do next? Let me tell you, we are largely done. Now, you need to be adding, yes, you need to be adding. Let me open up my Notepad++. Okay, you need to be adding a support for report viewer in your .NET Core, and for that you just need to be adding this ReportViewerCore.NETCore package. You can do that from Nugget Package Manager. For that, you just need to right click on this project, go to Manage Nugget Packages, go to Browse, copy and paste this, and you can see this report viewer coming up, right? So this is the icon. Remember, it just has a text icon here. It's a normal text notepad kind of icon. And what it says, just hold on, read it. It's great to see. SQL Server Reporting Services engine decompiled and recompiled for .NET 8 based on Report Viewer 15.0.140. So this was the last Report Viewer component provided by Microsoft for .NET Framework, and community has completely done this. So it's saying that this project is not developed or supported by Microsoft, right? The project is aimed for porting Microsoft SQL Server reporting services to .NET 8 sources and examples, and available at this guide, right? So you understood that this is not by Microsoft. Now I'm just going to be installing this. It's going to be adding some transient packages as well, drawing other stuff, right? So they are the transient packages which might also be added. I click accept. It has done its job. How to prove it? You can double click on this project, which just shows the presence of this reporting viewer core.NET core. Please understand one more time that you don't need .NET Framework on your client's PC to run your reporting. You don't have to do that. It is completely .NET Core, just that it was recompiled it was taken, lifted up from .NET Framework and recompiled to .NET Core, all by the community members, right? Not by Microsoft. All right, that's it. And now what more we need to do? Now I will create a controller, okay? And the controller will be, now I have almost done it, so it's very simple. I'll just copy the paste code now. So let me get to my controller. The controller's name is report controller, right? So this is what I'll copy and paste. I could have explained by just showing my project. I didn't do that because it's always good to show it step by step so that you can understand, follow along. All right, so let me right click on controller, click add, click new controller, let that be an empty controller, and this be the name of it, reports controller, and then the reports controller is ready, right? Now I'm going to be replacing this code by this code. So that code is here, which is reports controller. All right, so that's the code. I'm just copying and pasting this code, and that is pretty much it. I'm copying this code and pasting it here. I'll explain. No worries. I'll explain all the bits of it. Okay, it is asking for this employee repository, which is not still there. So I really have to be creating my employee repository. So let me, because I really don't have the models even. I don't have the model. So I don't have the model, don't have the repository. So it's my bad. I should have first created the data in my project, right? So I have to be creating this employee class, which I did that in the framework just to support the structure, but I need to be having it primarily here. So let me have this employee, which is the same as this guy, same as the same as my dummies structure. Okay, so same as this guy, right? So I'm just quite going to copy and paste it here. I hope that you understood that logic, that why we have done a copying and pasting, because the one in the dummy is the structure, and the structure was provided to the RDLC. Once it is done, we can completely forget that. It was just made to create the report and then copy the RDLC here and then do the rest of the journey here, right? So, all right, so here is my model, and I should also provide my repository. You know what repositories are? They are basically classes which provide data to your project. Now, how do they do? That depends on the logic provided in the repository. Repository can connect with a real database through some DB context class, or maybe it can provide some crude data, or maybe repositories can connect through ADO.NET to get data, right? It's all up to you how you do that. So let me get to my code, and I'll copy and paste, right? Okay. So I had my repository. Wait a second. So I can go to the definition of it. Okay. Yeah, that's my repository. So I'm really trying to copy my repository into my project, and I like to have a standard repository folder, right? I'll write repositories. Brilliant. I'll right click, add new class, add a repository, hit enter. Now quite going to copy and paste my repository code from there. So okay, all right, going to copy this whole repository code. I'll expand this and show you that what it has inside. Yes, this is what I have. Let me quickly add this employee namespace. I mean, the employee, let me add this models namespace. Okay. Now, this repository is very simple. This is a static constructor. I have some constant static data. If you really want to get it from the database, you can either replace this code by a DB context class using entity framework. The choice is yours. And the earlier code that I had was all in edu.net. Okay, so its choice is yours. This is all about to create data and return data. This get all employees is all about to return the data. Okay, so you can connect to database if you want to. For now, we just have the data stored as static member. Okay, so we will just return the static data, and this is never used, but I still have this in the code. So primarily what I have done is have a repository, have a function get employees which actually returns the data. And how you create your data, that is totally your choice. You can use SQL Server, you can use MySQL, you may not use any one of them. You can just use crude data. I just have a couple of crude data here. Okay, I've got 10 employees having some name, department, and salary. All right, I think that is fine. If you find this difficult, then probably you need a proper, training in .NET, which is what is really, really very important. So feel free to give me a tinkle in case if you really need one. I help people like everything that you really have to, whether you just want to learn, whether you want to refresh your concept, or whether you want just have some questions you want to ask me. I'm fine with everything. All right, so now that we have already done this repository, so let me come back to our reporting controller. It is asking for this repository, so I need to get the get my namespace correctly, and here to employee, this employee namespace, this models namespace and repository namespaces are now like important. Okay, now next what? Next is follow this code. It is super simple. We are done. Let me tell you, there's no more code. We are almost done. So we have created the repository. We have called to get employees. Okay. Now we might think that maybe I just wanted to have a kind of URL so that you can pass the department. So that means you can really have your report based on which department the employee is working. So that can be passed as a query string. So you can think this particular link has been called by a peer, class, or peer. I mean, a peer. Let's say a controller where you already have an UI. Let's say the user is giving some department and clicking next. Okay, clicking search, and then you can redirect it to this particular action. Okay, so we will not really just call this directly. For now we are doing this, but in real situation we'll be having a form where you will be filling up the data, and then we will click next or search, and that will be calling this one, right? Hopefully you already know these things because these are quite intensive things. I hope that when you have come to this part, probably you already know quite a bit of .NET already. So fetch data. Okay, so we have fetched the data, we have filtered the data. You can see it's very simple by using some lambda expression. We have filtered data so that we can only have the departments. Okay, we can only have those departments. So, and only if the department is not empty. So if department is empty, then don't do any filtration. So that means user would like to see all the all the employees. However, if it is not empty, then like to filter it further down to just show those employees which work in that department. Great. And next what? Next, I'm trying to get hold of that path which contains this employee report.rdlc. This is my report file, RDLC, employee report.rdlc, which we created in dummy and got it here, right? Reports, employee report.rdlc. So this is the folder name and this is the report name, right? Report RDLC file name. And this is the current directory. We are doing a path.combine to connect it with that, and this is how we are getting a hard-coded path to that particular file. So this is a hard-coded path, okay, a physical path. And then we are saying if it don't exist, then okay, we will just say report do not exist. Okay, so that means the report do not exist. So maybe we can just return some error in some way. And if it does exist, what we just need to do is we can straight away create a local report object. Now this is where is a good thing to watch. In your previous web forms, you had the report controls. And deep inside report control, we already had local report as a property. But here you don't have a report control. You are directly clicking the link and the report will be downloaded. All right, so we will do some search, hit the button, and the report will be downloaded. In my case, I'll just run this application, supply or not supply the department in the top, and a report will be created and will be downloaded immediately. Right, there is no such intermediate reporting control where you can see the report first and then you can download via PDF or Word or Excel, right? So that intermediate thing is not there. This is the only thing that you will not get in ASP.NET Core, right? But ask yourself, is it really necessary? It is not necessary, because user is just going to type some report, type some, just give his all inputs, like okay, this date and that date, from this date to this date, maybe the departments, and just click OK. Okay, once he clicks OK or search, the report will be generated on the screen. And if you're happy to see that report on screen, which is the HTML, then we'll further say, okay, download this. As you click download, then we can redirect it to such kind of action, which basically recreates the data and everything, and then it loads the report from this file. Okay, first of all, it loads the structure of the report. So what does this do? This loads the report from this particular path. Okay, and then we are creating the report data source. So employees is what was our source, but we connected this employee with the report data source. Now, why we did that? Because the report, this local report object, will not directly like this data. Will only like it to be wrapped within a report data source object. All right. So this employee need to be wrapped within this. And remember this name, dataset employees, it should be 100% the same as that of this name, dataset employee. Remember that we added, right click, add dataset, we have added that, right? So at that time we named it here. So remember to give the same name right here. Okay, we have to be having the same name. Forget not, otherwise it will not work. And so basically what we have done so far is that we have created the local report, made sure that this report object is connected to this particular path, this particular RDLC, and then afterwards we are creating a report data source by wrapping these employees and naming this as dataset employees, and finally connecting this RDS with this report by this particular code line, that is report.datasources.add RDS. And optionally, if your report contains some parameter, you can really add it, right? If your report contains some parameter, you can really add it. Like let's say param value with some param value. You can just have anything. I can write my parameter value. Let me add some parameter. Maybe I can call that Sudipto. My name is Sudipto. Okay. I just want to, this can be dynamic. You can just make it dynamic. Let's say I can also add this datetime dot now, so that you understand this is totally dynamic. Okay, so Sudipto's report on, maybe I just write my name and the time right now. That's a dynamic thing, and I'd like to add this report parameter right in this RDLC. Now I can add parameter. Okay, only thing that you cannot add is this data set, or even the whole thing you cannot add. I'm sorry, it's a slip of a tongue. You cannot add anything. The report itself cannot be added at all if you are doing in the .NET code directly. So first add the report and then come here, and then you can continue the designing here. Absolutely possible. So after you make the basic thing, you can continue designing here, right? Provided your data sources, these structures don't change. So let me right click, add a new parameter. Let me call it as my parameter. I like to allow nulls and everything, and click OK. And then I like to drag it right here, so that that parameter will really come right over there too. Right? Brilliant. All fine. I believe this is all good. All right. it. Also good. And finally, what for we are waiting for. So let me go to the reports. This my param is now this data. Finally, we say the report, please render. Okay. Now, if you remember here in our in our .NET web forms application, we used to render the report by refreshing the that report viewer control, like report viewer control dot local report dot refresh, right? That command we used to write. But here we don't. We just write report dot render, and we just give the PDF, okay, PDF or whatever. So this is a brilliant update because under the hood a lot of things are happening here. So the team has really done a good job. And after that, this byte stream can be downloaded by calling this file, uh, you know, this file action result, right? As I hover the mouse cursor, it says file content result. So you can pass on these bytes, make sure that it is in PDF, and then you can have the report name anything. You can generate the report name also dynamically, right? This is brilliant. Now let me run this. I can even have a report name dynamically. I can say PDF. Maybe I can have an interpolation here. I can do my report, and then I can give some date time here. Date time dot now. Okay, so that date time dot now will be creating the current date and time. I like to punch this date time here and then PDF here. With that, let's try to run this and show you that how it really works. And I really run this. You have noticed I have not even started this dummy project. It's not even required. It was just created to create the RDLC and then successfully just import it in my main project. That is the only reason it exists. All right. Here we go. This is the main project. Now I'm just going to be doing this and hit enter. I'm not supplying any department to execute. Fingers crossed. If everything is good, it is just going to download right here. It's just have an eye. It should download here. I don't think it has done any mistake. It should not be taking that time. Let me see. Oh, what is saying? An error occurred. Cannot create a data reader dataset employee. Dataset employee. I did a mistake, a spelling mistake. The dataset employees. Okay, and what we have here. So these little mistakes are very bad. You see that we have it here, data set employee, right? So my project had data set employee, and now when I copied, I just missed that S. So of course I have to write here data set just employee and not employees, right? I hope that you understand that point. So I just need to take off that S. So that you now know the importance of this data set. If you do any spelling mistake, it won't just work. It has to be exactly named as was supplied in your while you created the RDLC. Right, so let me again paste this and hit enter. It doesn't take that time. It's quick and fast. Great, man. It did. Look at this. My report on this. And then you have it downloaded. Let me double click on it. That's it. Employees report, your parameter, everything there. Now, if I really give, okay, just a second now. Let me really have it like this and say question mark department equals to IT, because this is what your action can really accept, right? Your action can really accept this. See, can accept this DPT as a query string. So if you provide it as a query string, hit enter, it is just going to download a subset of it. You can only see the IT guys, Bob, David, and Frank. I hope it was really useful to you. Now, one last thing. If you really want to be enhancing this for, let's say, charts, chart control, other stuff, encoding stuff, then please write this code either here, or you can write it either here or please grab it to your program.cs. I'm sorry, just either have it here or you have this in program.cs file of your .NET Core application and just copy it before your build. Okay, just do that. I mean, this is what is necessary for some registering providers of text code based encoding providers. This is only necessary if you are trying to create some kind of charting and other thing. So in that case, it will be essential. And one more important thing, if you need to be creating some drawing utilities, charts and all, you also need to be downloading more packages. So only installing this won't work. You need to be installing more. So I already have it commented in my other one. Let me get into that. So you also need to be having these things, okay? So I'll copy and paste this. Now I'll make this code available to you guys so that you can download this and use this. Right? So yep. So you will need to be having these if you really need for any kind of drawing stuff, charts and all. But for a simple report which just involves, just simple stuff, for just having simple tables and all, we will never need this. So add these packages, okay, and also add this thing if you are needing any of the advanced reporting features like drawing and all, but for most of the purposes you might not need them. So that was it for today. I hope that it really helped. If it really helped, please do subscribe to my channel, hit the like button as you know, and if you really need a dedicated one-to-one trainer, I promise I'll go beyond limits. I'll make sure that you understand every bit of concepts from the object-oriented codes to advanced designing logic and everything. I'm going to take you all to the journey to APIs and everything. Stay tuned. Bye bye. Take care.